I took a 12-hour trip, excited to see my grandson born. But the moment I arrived, my son blocked the door. "Mom, my wife doesn't want you here. She never liked you, so please don't make this harder." I left without a word. 3 days later, the hospital called. "Ma'am, the bill is short $10,000. I inhaled slowly and replied, "Hello, welcome, and thank you for choosing to listen to my story. I hope this story touches you. If you love your grandkids, like this video and subscribe. Let's carry on." I still remember the weight of my carry-on bag as I hurried through the airport terminal that September morning. 12 hours. That's how long it would take me to get from Phoenix to Boston. 2 connections, 3 airports, and more excitement than I'd felt in years coursing through my veins. My first grandchild was about to be born. Matthew had called me 4 days earlier, his voice trembling with that particular mixture of terror and joy that only first-time fathers seem to possess. "Mom." Sarah's contractions started. "They're still far apart, but the doctor says it could be any day now. Can you come?" "Can I come?" I'd been packed for 2 weeks. I'm Karen Mitchell, 53 years old, and I'd spent the last 7 months knitting baby blankets, researching the best bottles, and annoying my book club with endless conversations about becoming a grandmother. My friends were patient, bless them, but I could see their eyes glazing over when I'd pull out my phone to show them the latest ultrasound photo for the 100th time. The flight from Phoenix to Denver was smooth. I sat next to a young woman who was also pregnant, maybe 6 months along, and we talked about babies the whole way. She asked if I was visiting family, and when I told her about Matthew and Sarah and the impending arrival of my grandson, her face lit up with genuine happiness for me. "That's so special," she said, touching her own belly. "I hope my mom is as excited as you are." "Oh, honey," I told her. "I'm sure she is. Being a grandmother is going to be the greatest adventure of my life." I believed every word. The Denver layover was short, barely enough time to grab a sandwich and use the restroom before boarding again. The flight to Chicago was where my nerves really started to kick in. I kept checking my phone, waiting for updates from Matthew. Sarah's labor had been progressing slowly, he texted. They were at the hospital now. Everything looked good. I tried to read the novel I'd brought, some bestseller about a woman who inherits a bookshop in Scotland, but I couldn't focus. My mind kept drifting to the nursery Matthew and Sarah had set up in their brownstone apartment. I'd seen it over video calls, soft gray walls, white furniture, a mobile with little elephants that played Brahms' lullaby. Sarah had such good taste. Everything was perfect and coordinated in a way that made my own parenting years look chaotic by comparison. Sarah and I had always had a complicated relationship. That's probably too gentle a way to put it. Sarah tolerated me. That's more accurate. From the moment Matthew brought her home 5 years ago, I could feel the wall between us. She was polite, always polite, but there was a distance there that I could never quite bridge. I'd tried everything. I invited them over for dinner every month. Sarah always had a work commitment. I sent thoughtful birthday gifts. I got thank you texts, never calls. I asked about her job as a corporate attorney, her hobbies, her family. She answered in sentences that were perfectly pleasant and perfectly designed to end the conversation. Matthew insisted I was imagining things. "Mom, Sarah's just reserved. That's how she is with everyone. She's not a warm and fuzzy person, but she loves you. But a mother knows. A mother can feel when she's not wanted." Still, I'd push those feelings aside because this baby changed everything. This was my grandson, my flesh and blood. Surely, becoming grandparents together would finally give Sarah and me common ground. We'd bond over diaper changes and midnight feedings. She'd see that I wasn't trying to interfere or compete. I just wanted to help, to be part of this beautiful new chapter. The final flight from Chicago to Boston felt eternal. I was in a middle seat between a businessman who typed furiously on his laptop the entire time and a teenager who slept with his mouth open. I didn't care. I clutched my phone, watching the flight map, counting down the miles. We landed at 6:47 p.m. Boston time. My body was screaming that it was only 3:47 p.m., but adrenaline kept me moving. I practically ran through the terminal to baggage claim, grabbed my suitcase on the second rotation, and rushed outside to the taxi line. The September air in Boston was crisp and cool, so different from the dry heat I'd left behind in Phoenix. The taxi driver was a chatty man from Haiti who told me about his own grandchildren while we crawled through evening traffic into the city. I barely heard him. My phone showed 2 new texts from Matthew. "Mom, you close? Baby's coming soon. Hurry." "Almost there, sweetheart," I texted back with shaking fingers. 20 minutes. Their brownstone was in Beacon Hill, one of those beautiful old neighborhoods with brick sidewalks and gas lamps that made you feel like you'd stepped into a period drama. Matthew and Sarah had bought the place 2 years ago. Well, Sarah's parents had helped with the down payment, something she mentioned frequently, though never unkindly. Just as a fact. The taxi pulled up outside at 7:34 p.m. I shoved bills at the driver, not bothering to count the change, grabbed my bags, and hurried up the steps to their front door. It was painted a deep navy blue with a brass knocker shaped like an anchor. Very Sarah, classic and tasteful. I knocked, then rang the doorbell, my heart hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. Footsteps inside. The porch light flicked on. The door opened. Matthew stood there, and my first thought was how exhausted he looked. His dark hair was disheveled, standing up in places like he'd been running his hands through it. He wore a wrinkled t-shirt and jeans, and there were shadows under his eyes that aged him beyond his 28 years. But he wasn't smiling. "Matthew." I reached out to hug him, relief and joy flooding through me. "Oh, sweetheart, I'm here. How's Sarah? How's the baby?" He didn't move, didn't step aside to let me in. His hands gripped the doorframe, blocking the entrance. "Mom." His voice was flat, strained. I froze, my arms still outstretched. "What's wrong? Is Sarah okay? Is the baby?" "They're fine. They're both fine." He wouldn't meet my eyes. "Mom, you can't come in." The street noise seemed to fade away. A car passed behind me. Somewhere a dog was barking. But all I could hear was the blood rushing in my ears. "What?" Matthew's jaw clenched. He looked absolutely miserable. "Sarah doesn't want you here." 6 words. That's all it took to crack my world open. I don't understand." My voice came out small, confused. "Matthew, I just flew 12 hours. You called me. You told me to come." "I know." He finally looked at me, and the pain in his eyes was real. "I know, Mom, and I'm sorry. I hoped she'd change her mind. But she's very clear about this." My suitcase slipped from my hand and hit the brick steps with a thud. "She doesn't want me here? For what? For the birth? I can wait. I don't need to be in the delivery room. I just want to meet." "No, Mom." Matthew's voice cracked. "She doesn't want you here at all. Not today, not this week. She said she needs her space. That she wants only her mother present for the birth and the first few weeks." My throat went tight. Her mother? "Diane is here. She arrived yesterday." Of course she did. Diane, with her junior league pedigree and her Nantucket summer home, and her barely concealed disdain for anyone who didn't summer as a verb. Diane was inside, probably holding Sarah's hand, probably already planning the baby's Harvard application. But I was standing on the porch, locked out. "Matthew, please." I hated how my voice sounded, desperate, pleading. "I'm your mother. This is my grandchild, too. I just want to help. I can cook, I can clean, I can—" "She never liked you, Mom." The words hit me like a physical blow. Matthew said them quietly, almost gently, but they landed with devastating precision. "She never liked you," he repeated, and now I could see tears in his eyes.
"I'm sorry."
"I should have told you a long time ago. I kept hoping it would get better, that having a baby would change things, but it hasn't. She said she can't have you here when she's this vulnerable. She said you make her uncomfortable. She said," his voice broke completely. "She said if I let you in, she'll leave. She'll take the baby and go to her parents' house, and I can't. Mom, I can't let that happen." I stood there on those brick steps, my body still holding the shape of the hug I'd tried to give my son, and I felt something inside me go very still and very cold. 12 hours. 2 connections. 3 airports. 7 months of knitting and planning and dreaming. And my son was choosing his wife over me. No, that wasn't fair. He wasn't choosing her over me. He was choosing his family, his new family, the one he'd built with her. That's what you're supposed to do. I knew that. I'd raised him to be loyal, to stand by his partner. I just never imagined I'd be on the outside of that loyalty. Mom, please say something. Matthew's face was wet now. Please. I'm so sorry. I never wanted this. I love you. You know I love you.
Did I?
In that moment, I honestly wasn't sure what I knew anymore. I bent down and picked up my suitcase handle. The sidewalk blurred as tears finally came, hot and fast and humiliating. I would not break down in front of him. I would not make this harder than it already was. Mom. It's fine. My voice sounded foreign to my own ears, calm, distant, like I was talking about someone else's tragedy. You're right. You have to support your wife. That's what husbands do. Please don't leave like this.
Can we talk?
Can I call you tomorrow? I looked at my son, my beautiful boy who I'd raised alone after his father died, who I'd worked 2 jobs to put through college, who I'd loved with every atom of my being. And I saw him clearly. He was a good man caught in an impossible situation, and he'd made his choice. Tell Sarah congratulations, I said. Tell her I hope everything goes smoothly. Mom, where will you go? A hotel. It's fine. I'll catch a flight back tomorrow. Let me pay for the hotel. Please. Let me. Goodbye, Matthew. I turned and walked down those brick steps, pulling my suitcase behind me. I didn't look back. I didn't let myself look back because if I did, I would crumble completely, and I needed to at least make it to the corner before I fell apart. Behind me, I heard the navy blue door close softly. The brass anchor knocker made a small clicking sound as it settled. And just like that, I was alone in a city I didn't know with nowhere to go and a hole in my chest where my heart used to be. I walked for 3 blocks before my vision cleared enough to realize I had no idea where I was going. The streets of Beacon Hill are narrow and winding, all historic charm and old money, and none of it meant anything to me. I was just a woman dragging a suitcase, tears streaming down her face, while couples strolled past holding hands and families laughed through lit windows. My phone buzzed. Matthew. I sent it to voicemail. It buzzed again. I turned it off completely. There's a particular kind of pain that comes from being rejected by your own child. It doesn't matter that he's 28, married, about to be a father himself. He's still my baby. I still remember the weight of him in my arms the day he was born, the way he smelled like powder and milk, the impossibly tiny fingers that wrapped around mine. I'd been alone that day, too. David had died 6 months into my pregnancy. A heart attack at 32, sudden and senseless and world-ending. One morning he was kissing me goodbye, heading to his job at the insurance company, and by noon I was in a hospital waiting room being told he was gone. I'd raised Matthew by myself. My parents helped when they could, before they passed, but mostly it was just us. I'd worked as a dental hygienist during the day and waitressed 3 nights a week to make ends meet. I missed school plays because I had to work. I made sack lunches instead of buying the hot lunch all the other kids got. I drove a car held together with duct tape and prayer. But I'd done it. I'd gotten Matthew through school, through college, watched him graduate with honors, watched him land a good job as a software engineer, watched him meet Sarah at some tech industry mixer. And I'd been so happy for him. So grateful that he'd found someone, that he wouldn't be alone like I'd been. I never saw myself as the villain in their story. A taxi appeared at the corner, its light on. I flagged it down with numb efficiency. Do you know a hotel? Something clean. Not too expensive. The driver, an older woman with kind eyes, studied me in the rearview mirror. You okay, honey?
I've fine.
Just tired. Long flight. She didn't believe me. How could she, with my face still blotchy and wet, but she had the grace not to push. I'll take you to the Marlowe. It's nice, good location, won't break the bank. Thank you. The hotel was indeed nice, boutique style, with a trendy lobby that had velvet couches and too many ferns. I checked in using my credit card, the one I'd been carefully paying down for the past year, because I wanted to have some financial cushion for helping with the baby. Diapers, formula, emergency situations. I'd wanted to be useful. Useful. What a stupid, naive hope that had been. My room was on the 4th floor, decorated in grays and whites with abstract art on the walls. I dropped my suitcase by the door, walked to the bed, and sat down on the edge. Then I turned my phone back on. 23 missed calls. 17 text messages. All from Matthew. I couldn't read them. Not yet. Instead, I opened my messages and scrolled back through months of conversations with my son. Had I missed the signs? Had I been blind or willfully ignorant or both? There, 3 months ago, I'd sent him a photo of a onesie I'd bought, light blue, with little dinosaurs. His response, "Cute, Mom. Sarah says thanks." Sarah says thanks. Not "we love it," or "that's adorable." Sarah says thanks. 2 months ago, when I'd asked about visiting before the baby came to help them prepare, "Mom, we're pretty busy with work. Maybe closer to the due date." 6 weeks ago, when I'd sent information about a grandparenting class I'd found, no response at all. The signs had been there. I just hadn't wanted to see them. I thought about calling my sister, Jennifer, back in Phoenix. But what would I say? What words could possibly explain this situation without making me sound pathetic? "Hi, Jen. Just wanted to let you know my son chose his wife over me, and I'm not allowed to meet my grandson."
No.
I couldn't do that. Not tonight. Instead, I did what any mature, rational adult would do. I ordered an entire pizza from room service, opened the minibar, and drank a tiny bottle of wine that cost $18. The pizza arrived 40 minutes later. I ate 3 slices mechanically, tasting nothing, then pushed the box away. The Boston skyline glittered outside my window, beautiful, indifferent, full of people living their normal lives while mine disintegrated.
My phone buzzed again.
Another text from Matthew. Against my better judgment, I opened it. "Mom, please answer.
I'm worried about you.
Sarah had the baby an hour ago.
A boy.
8 pounds, 3 ounces. He's perfect. I wish you were here.
I'm so sorry.
Please call me."
A boy.
My grandson. Born an hour ago, and I wasn't there. I hadn't held him, hadn't seen him, didn't even know his name. The sob that came out of me was ugly and raw. I pressed a pillow to my face to muffle the sound, as if the hotel walls might judge me for this breakdown. Everything I'd been holding back since Matthew shut that door came pouring out, grief, rage, humiliation, love all tangled together until I couldn't tell which emotion was which. How had Sarah convinced him to do this? What had I done that was so unforgivable? I replayed every interaction I'd ever had with her, searching for the moment I'd crossed some invisible line. Was it the time I'd suggested a different pediatrician than the one she'd chosen? Was it when I'd mentioned that Matthew used to love sleeping with a nightlight? Maybe the baby would too? Was it simply my existence, my presence in Matthew's life before she came along? I didn't know. I'd never know, because Sarah had never told me. She just smiled her polite smile, kept her distance, and waited until the most vulnerable moment of her life to shut me out completely. And Matthew had let her. That was the part that hurt most. Not Sarah's rejection. I'd felt that coming for years, but Matthew's compliance. My son, who I'd raised to be kind and loyal and good, had looked me in the eye and told me his wife had never liked me, then closed the door. I must have cried myself to sleep eventually, because I woke up at 3 a.m., still fully dressed, the room dark except for the glow of the city outside. My face felt swollen and my head throbbed. My phone showed 41 missed calls now. I turned it face down and went to the bathroom, staring at my reflection in the 2 bright lights. 53 years old. Gray streaking through my brown hair. Lines around my eyes and mouth. When had I gotten old? I washed my face, changed into the pajamas I'd so carefully packed, and climbed under the covers properly. Sleep didn't come easy, but it came eventually, restless and full of dreams where I was searching for something I could never quite find. Morning came with weak sunlight filtering through the hotel curtains and the sounds of the city waking up outside. For a moment, maybe 3 seconds, I forgot where I was and why. Then it all came rushing back, and the weight of it pressed me down into the mattress. My grandson existed in the world, and I was not allowed to know him. I forced myself out of bed, showered until the water ran cold, and dressed in the clean clothes from my suitcase. Clothes I'd chosen thinking I'd be holding a baby, wiping up spit up, being useful. I looked at the carefully folded infant blanket I'd knitted, soft yellow yarn that had taken me 3 weeks to complete. It had a little pattern of ducks around the border. I couldn't bring myself to unpack it. My phone was a minefield, but I couldn't avoid it forever. Sitting on the edge of the bed with a cup of terrible hotel coffee, I finally looked at the messages. Matthew had texted 19 times through the night. "Mom, please. I know you're upset. You have every right to be. Can we talk in the morning? Please." His name is Oliver. Oliver David Mitchell. We named him after Dad. That one broke something in me all over again. They'd named him after David. My David. Matthew's father, who never got to watch his son grow up. And I wasn't allowed to meet this baby who carried his grandfather's name. There were photos. Matthew had sent photos. I opened them with shaking hands. Oliver was beautiful. Dark hair like Matthew had been born with, scrunched up face, impossibly small. Wrapped in one of those hospital blankets, wearing a little striped hat. In one photo, Sarah held him, looking exhausted but radiant. In another, Matthew cradled him against his chest, and the expression of wonder on my son's face was almost too much to bear. I should have been there. I should have been in those photos, wearing the grandma t-shirt my book club had given me as a joke, holding my grandson, welcoming him to the world. Instead, I was in a hotel room, looking at him through a screen. More messages, these from earlier this morning. "We're coming home from the hospital today. Mom, please call. We need to talk about this. I want you in Oliver's life. I need you in his life. Let me fix this."
How?
I wanted to scream at the phone. How do you fix your wife telling you she never liked your mother? How do you fix being told you're not welcome at the most important moment of your child's life?
There was a voicemail too.
I pressed play and heard Matthew's voice, thick with exhaustion. "Mom, it's 6 a.m. I haven't slept. He's perfect, Mom. You'd love him so much.
I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry for how this happened. Sarah was in labor for 18 hours and she was in so much pain, and when I tried to bring you up, she lost it. She said she couldn't deal with the stress, that having you here would make everything harder. I didn't know what to do. I still don't know what to do. But I can't lose you. You're my mom. Oliver needs to know his grandmother. Please call me back. We'll figure this out. I promise we'll figure this out." I saved the voicemail.
I don't know why.
Maybe because it was proof that my son still loved me, even if that love hadn't been enough yesterday. I spent the morning in that hotel room, ordering more overpriced coffee from room service, staring at photos of a baby I couldn't touch. I looked up flights back to Phoenix. There was one at 2 p.m., another at 6. I could be home by night, back in my own house with my own bed, away from this nightmare. But something held me in that room. Some stubborn part of me that wasn't ready to give up, that thought maybe if I just gave it a day or two, Sarah would calm down, and Matthew would find a way to make this right. That's what I was telling myself at 11:47 a.m. when the hotel phone rang. Not my cell. The hotel landline. I picked it up, confused. "Hello. Is this Karen Mitchell?" "Yes. Ms. Mitchell, this is Angela from the billing department at Boston Medical Center. I'm calling regarding the account for Sarah Mitchell and baby Oliver Mitchell." My heart started pounding. "Is everything okay? Are they all right?" "Oh, yes, everyone's fine. This is just regarding the hospital bill. There seems to be an issue with the insurance coverage. The total bill is $23,780, and after insurance, there's a remaining balance of $10,000. We show you listed as an emergency contact and financial guarantor on the paperwork." I set down my coffee cup very carefully. "I'm sorry, what?" "You're listed as a financial guarantor, ma'am. That means you've agreed to be responsible for any portion of the bill not covered by insurance. We need to arrange payment for the outstanding $10,000. My mind went blank, then scrambled to catch up. There must be a mistake. I didn't sign anything. Let me check. Yes, here it is. The paperwork was submitted 3 months ago when they pre-registered for delivery. Your name, address, and social security number are all here, with your signature authorizing financial responsibility. 3 months ago, when I'd visited for a weekend, when Sarah had asked me to sign some emergency contact forms while she was dealing with insurance paperwork, I'd barely glanced at them, just signed where she indicated, trusting my daughter-in-law, wanting to be helpful.
Mom?
Are you still there? Yes. My voice came out steady, which surprised me. Yes, I'm here. We need to settle this balance before the patient can be fully discharged. Can we process a payment today? $10,000. $10,000 for a grandchild I wasn't allowed to meet. $10,000 because I'd been stupid enough to trust that Sarah saw me as family.
Mom?
How would you like to proceed? And that's when something inside me shifted. The grief and confusion from yesterday crystallized into something harder, clearer. I'd been operating under the assumption that the situation was somehow my fault, that if I could just figure out what I'd done wrong, I could fix it. But Sarah had planned this. She'd had me sign those papers months ago, ensuring I'd be on the hook financially, while she made sure I was shut out emotionally. I thought about my savings account. I'd been so careful with money my whole life, especially after David died. Every dollar saved was security, was freedom, was the difference between independence and desperation in my retirement. $10,000 was a quarter of what I had. Ms. Mitchell, we really do need to resolve this today. I took a slow breath. Let it out. Made a decision. I need to speak with my son first. Can you call back in an hour? Ma'am, the patient needs to be discharged. If we don't receive payment, 1 hour, I repeated, and hung up before she could argue. My hands were steadier than they should have been as I picked up my cell phone and called Matthew. He answered on the first ring.
Mom.
Oh, thank God. I've been so worried. Matthew. My voice cut through his relief like ice. I just got a very interesting call from the hospital billing department. Silence. Did you know Sarah put me down as financial guarantor? Mom, He was stammering.
Caught.
I didn't think they'd actually call you. We thought the insurance would cover more. We're going to pay you back, obviously. Obviously, I repeated. Like it's obvious I'd be welcome to meet my grandson? Like it was obvious you'd stand up for me when your wife decided I wasn't good enough to be present for his birth. Mom, please don't. Don't what? Don't be upset that your wife tricked me into signing financial paperwork while planning to shut me out of your lives. Don't be hurt that you need my money, but not my presence. It's not like that. Then what is it like, Matthew? Explain it to me. I heard voices in the background. Sarah saying something I couldn't make out. Matthew's muffled response. Then he was back. Mom, we're going to pay you back. Every penny. I promise. Things are tight right now with Sarah on maternity leave, and the deductible was higher than we expected, and it's convenient that stupid old Karen already signed the papers. Don't say that. You're not stupid, and we don't think. Do you have the money, Matthew? Do you have $10,000 to pay this bill? Another silence. Longer this time. Not right now. But I can get it. I can take a loan or... The hospital needs payment today. They called because they won't discharge Sarah and Oliver until the bill is settled. Do what you need to do.
Take me to court if you want.
I'll explain to a judge exactly how those papers were signed. I'll bring witnesses who can testify that I was told something completely different. And I'll make sure everyone knows that Sarah Mitchell deliberately deceived her mother-in-law into financial liability while simultaneously refusing to let her meet her grandchild. More silence. Then, let me speak with my supervisor. You do that. And while you're at it, you should know that the person who actually should be responsible for this bill is the patient herself, Sarah Mitchell. If she can't pay, I'm sure her parents can help. I believe her mother Diane is staying with them. Diane and Richard from Nantucket. I'm sure they have the resources. I gave her their last name, their address from the Christmas cards Sarah's mother always sent. Or, I continued, you can contact my son, Matthew Mitchell. He's the father. It's his bill too. Ma'am, we need to resolve this today. Then I suggest you call them. Because I'm done being used. I hung up. My hands were shaking now, adrenaline finally catching up with decision. I just refused to pay $10,000. I just potentially damaged my credit, opened myself up to legal action, burned whatever bridge might have still existed with Sarah. And I felt lighter than I had in 2 days. My phone rang within 5 minutes. Matthew. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again. Again. On the 4th call, I answered. Yes. What the hell, Mom? Matthew's voice was ragged, panicked. The hospital just called. They said you're refusing to pay? They're saying Sarah can't leave until the bill is settled. She's exhausted, the baby needs to get home, and you're… I'm what, Matthew? I'm standing up for myself? I'm refusing to be treated like an ATM while being shut out of your life? This is different. This is Oliver's health, his care.
No, interrupt.
Oliver is fine. Sarah is fine. This is about money and who pays it. And I've decided it won't be me. Mom, please. He was crying now. I could hear it. Please don't do this. I know we hurt you. I know we handled everything wrong. But don't punish Oliver for our mistakes. I'm not punishing anyone. I'm simply declining to pay a bill that isn't mine. You and Sarah are parents now. Parents handle their own expenses. We don't have it. I told you, we don't have $10,000 sitting around. Then call Sarah's parents. I'm sure Diane would be happy to help. Sarah won't ask them. She's too proud. How interesting. She'll accept money from me, but not from her own parents. I wonder why that is. Because you offered. You said you wanted to help with the baby. I wanted to help by being present, Matthew. By being a grandmother. Not by being a checkbook you cash, while keeping me at arm's length. Voices in the background again. Sarah, definitely Sarah, saying something sharp and angry. Then Matthew away from the phone. I'm handling it. Then back to me. Mom.
Please.
I'm begging you. And here was the moment. The choice that would define everything going forward. I could pay. I could transfer that money right now, take the hit to my savings, and maybe Matthew would feel guilty enough to change things. Maybe Sarah would soften, realize she needed me, let me into their lives. Or I could hold firm. Accept the consequences. Draw a line that said, you don't get to use me without loving me. You don't get my resources without my presence. I'm sorry, Matthew. I said, and I meant it. But no. Mom. Tell Sarah to call her parents. Tell her to take out a loan. Tell her to work out a payment plan with the hospital. But I'm not paying. Not unless things change. Not unless I'm actually part of this family. What does that mean? What do you want? What did I want? The question was so much bigger than he knew. I want to meet my grandson, I said simply. I want to be welcomed into your home. I want Sarah to apologize for lying to me about those papers. And I want you to grow a spine and stand up for me the way I stood up for you every day of your life. I heard him inhale sharply. Wounded. Good. That's not fair, he whispered. No, I agreed. It's not. Neither is flying 12 hours to be told I'm not wanted. Neither is having my daughter-in-law forge my financial responsibility while planning to shut me out. Fair isn't a factor here anymore, sweetheart. This is about respect. Do I have yours, or don't I? Silence stretched between us, broken only by the sound of my son's ragged breathing. Finally, I need to go. I know. We'll figure something out. For the bill. I'm sure you will. You're smart and resourceful.
You learned that from me.
He made a sound that might have been a laugh or a sob. Then the line went dead. I didn't leave Boston. I should have. The smart thing would have been to book a flight home, put 3,000 miles between myself and this mess. But something kept me in that hotel room. Stubbornness, hope, or maybe just the inability to walk away from my grandson without trying one more time. The first day after my conversation with the hospital, my phone was mercifully quiet. No calls from Matthew. No angry texts from Sarah. I assumed they'd called her parents, swallowed their pride, gotten the money somehow. Oliver and Sarah would be home, settling into their new life, the life I wasn't part of. I walked around Beacon Hill, ate meals I didn't taste, called my sister Jennifer with a carefully edited version of events. "Come home," she said. "Maybe with time and distance, things will get better." Maybe. I agreed, not believing it. The second day, I got an email from a debt collection agency. The hospital had wasted no time. I forwarded it to my lawyer, who sent back a detailed letter explaining that the signature had been obtained fraudulently. "This could get messy," he warned. "If they push it, there'll be legal fees." I understand, because it wasn't about the money anymore. It was about being seen, being valued, being more than a wallet that showed up when convenient. That evening, Matthew texted, "Mom, I'm coming to your hotel. Room 412, right? I tracked the charge on your credit card. I'm coming at 8 p.m. Please be there." At exactly 8 o'clock, I saw him walking fast, head down against the November wind, alone. The knock came moments later. My son looked terrible. Red-rimmed eyes, rumpled clothes, unwashed hair. He'd aged 5 years in 3 days. Mom. Matthew. I stepped aside. He entered, carrying a laptop bag that bulged with more than just a computer. "Oliver's asleep," he said, sitting heavily on my bed. "Sarah's mother is watching him. I told Sarah I needed to buy diapers. I have maybe an hour." "You lied to your wife to come here." I learned from the best, apparently. The bitterness in his voice was new. "Why are you here, Matthew?" "Because everything is falling apart." He looked broken. "We got the money." Sarah called her parents. Her dad wired $10,000 like it was nothing. Oliver's home, but the house is full of tension. Diane makes passive-aggressive comments. Sarah snaps at me constantly. "And I keep thinking about you in this hotel room alone." He put his head in his hands. "I really screwed this up, Mom." I waited. Let him sit with it. "You want to know the worst part? When you refused to pay, Sarah immediately blamed me. She couldn't conceive that you might have your own reasons, your own boundaries. To her, you're just this obstacle I'm supposed to manage." How long has she felt that way?
Years, maybe.
From the beginning. His eyes were wet. "I thought I could fix it by keeping you separate, but all I did was make you feel shut out and make Sarah feel like she had to compete with you." "I never wanted her to compete with me." "I know. But her mother is controlling, and Sarah spent her whole life establishing independence. She sees any input as criticism, any help as judgment. And you have opinions, Mom. You're not passive." Is that what she wanted? Someone who'd just be quiet? Maybe. What I know is I should have dealt with this years ago. I should have stood up for you instead of shutting the door in your face. Why didn't you? Because I was terrified. Sarah makes ultimatums when she's overwhelmed. Your mother leaves or I do. And I froze. I chose wrong. He was crying openly. Dad would be so disappointed in me. Your father would understand. He'd also tell you that you can't build a family on fear and ultimatums. I know. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing this. He reached into his bag and pulled out yellow fabric with a border of ducks. My blanket. I found this in your suitcase. You left it on the porch. He unfolded it, and I saw small stains, milk, baby spit up. I've been wrapping Oliver in it when Sarah's not looking. I tell him about his grandmother Karen, how you worked 2 jobs to raise me, how you never missed my baseball games, how you taught me to be kind and stand up for what's right. My throat was too tight to speak. I tell him how you flew 12 hours to meet him and how I broke your heart. Then I wrap him tighter in this blanket you made, and I promise him I'm going to fix this, that he's going to know you. He held out the blanket. I took it with shaking hands. It smelled like baby, that sweet, clean scent unlike anything else. He's beautiful, Mom. He has your eyes. He deserves better than this mess. He deserves a grandmother who loves him. I do love him, I whispered. I know. Matthew pulled out his laptop and turned it toward me. On the screen was a video call interface showing a nursery, gray walls, white furniture. In a bassinet, I could see a bundle of blue blanket and the edge of a tiny, sleeping face.
This is live, Matthew said.
I set up a camera before I left. I can't bring you to the house yet. Sarah's not ready, and neither am I. We need to work through things. But I can do this. I can let you see him. I stared at my grandson sleeping peacefully. If you want, I can do this every day, just until I figure out how to fix the bigger mess. What about Sarah? I'll deal with Sarah. That's my job. You were right about me needing a spine. We sat in silence, watching Oliver. His little chest rose and fell. One tiny fist escaped the swaddle and waved before settling back. I'm not paying the bill, I said finally. That boundary stands. I understand. And I need a real apology from Sarah. Not through you, from her directly. She needs to acknowledge what she did. I'll tell her.
No.
She needs to come to that realization herself. I won't have a relationship built on you forcing her. Matthew nodded. That might take time. I have time. What about us? Are we okay? I looked at my son. This man making terrible choices, but finally trying to make them right. We're not okay yet, I said honestly. But we might be. Eventually. His face crumpled with relief. That's more than I deserve. Probably. But you're my son. I can't just stop loving you. I'm going to do better, Mom. I promise. Show me, don't tell me. We watched Oliver for 10 more minutes. He stretched, squeaked, then settled back into sleep. It wasn't the same as holding him, but it was something. A start. I should go, Matthew finally said. Did you actually buy diapers? On the way here. They're in my car. Good. At least you'll have one thing to show for your lie. He smiled slightly. The camera's on a loop. It'll stay on unless someone unplugs it. I hid it behind books. Sarah's too tired to notice. After he left, I stayed at that laptop for 3 hours, watching Oliver sleep and occasionally wake and fuss until some unseen hand soothed him back to calm. The camera didn't show the person, just the baby, which made it easier. I could pretend I was there. At midnight, Matthew texted, "Thank you for giving me a chance. Love you, Mom." I wrote back, "Love you too, but do better." I will. 3 days had passed since I'd arrived in Boston with such hope. 3 days since the door shut in my face. 3 days of heartbreak and anger and, finally, this fragile possibility of something better. I didn't know if Sarah would ever apologize or if I'd ever hold Oliver in person. But I knew I'd stood up for myself.
Ide draun bundarías.
I'd refused to be used and discarded. And tomorrow, I'd watch my grandson again on that screen. I'd see him grow, day by day, until the day came. If it came, when I could finally touch his face and tell him how much his grandmother loved him. It wasn't the ending I'd dreamed of when I boarded that plane. But it was the beginning of something real. Something built on respect instead of convenience. Something that might eventually heal. I fell asleep that night with my grandson's blanket pressed to my chest, smelling of milk and hope, and for the first time in days, I didn't cry. Tomorrow would come with its own challenges. But tonight, I could rest knowing I'd survived the worst and come out with my dignity intact. That was something. That was everything.